but I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
I don't know whether rockets or whatever, but incredibly fast, almost the direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help!
Aliens won't let it happen. That's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0.
Doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Well, good evening, and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting out of Las Vegas, Nevada. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're going deep. As usual, we like to get weird on this show. That's really the calling card of what we've been doing for quite some time now. However, there's interesting science afoot that actually suggests, maybe, just maybe, if you squint with your mind's eye, that werewolves were real. We'll get to that in a second tonight. I'm going to make the case that the werewolf has been solved. And I'm calling this the werewolf, how can I say it? Werewolf. The werewolf anomaly. I'm calling it ancient spirits in modern times. And to start, what do you know about a werewolf? And do you think it is possible, somewhere deep in the dawn of the human mind, that this actual thing was real? That's the question as we start. And I will make the case that, well, kind of, I think it's compelling. I think it's an interesting space to kind of look at the world in new ways and tie them back to these ancient spirits. And clearly the werewolf, you know, the cursed and the full moon and the lycanthropy and the silver and all the things, the actual legend that make this such an interesting story, and it's such an interesting critter or one of these ancient spirits, is that it's so deep, it's so dense. It goes back, again, millennia all over the world, and there's links in the description. We'll talk about that as we go, all the different places they saw these things, notable places. I mean, it's weird, right? Anyway, so where do we begin? We are taking your calls tonight if you want to be part of the conversation. The number to call is 702-857-6939, or you can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. That's the official website, and blue button on top is the Discord. Okay, let me read you this just real quick. Now, this is what gave me the idea, the scientific basis for the actual werewolf. And yeah, you bet your bippy, I'm doing a werewolf show, not in October, in July. July. Yeah, that's because I marched to my own drummer, and that's just it. I don't follow seasons unless I think they're relevant, and I don't follow what everybody else is doing. That's it. I'm going to talk about what's interesting to me, and this is absolutely fascinating in my opinion. This is from iflscience.com. Links are in the description. I encourage you to read them in full. The Neanderthal trophic anomaly. So our extinct cousins either ate mammoths or insane amounts of maggots. What? That's weird, right? Okay, so let me read this because this article is really important. It's super short, which is nice, but it made me think of. I'll tell you. Here we go. There's something about Neanderthals that doesn't quite add up. Based on the type of nitrogen detected in their collagen, they appear to have been hypercarnivores, eating way more meat than apex predators like wolves and hyenas. But humans simply can't consume that much meat without getting seriously ill. So what on earth were the extinct hominins eating? Herbivore muscle meat is high in nitrogen-15 isotopes, and elevated levels of this element in ancient remains usually point towards a carnivorous diet. Gray wolves and spotted hyenas, for instance, typically show values between 7.9 and 8.4% nitrogen-15, reflecting their meaty menus. Okay? Yet, Neanderthals often display values of between 12 and 14%, which suggests that their lust for flesh was absolutely off the scale. However, in modern humans, consuming more than 300 grams of lean protein per day typically leads to a potentially fatal condition called rabbit starvation. Heard of that before? If absolutely fascinating. This form of malnutrition occurs because while the calorie consumption is high, there is simply not enough fats and carbohydrates. As they say, if you just eat rabbits and nothing else, you eventually will starve to death anyway, which is highly fascinating in this capacity. So last year, researchers offered an explanation for this trophic anomaly in Neanderthals. Okay, again, so this is from IFL Science. Benjamin Taub, T-A-U-B, is the freelance writer that did this. Fire stuff. He's holds a master's degree in anthropology from the University College London, and has previously worked in the fields of psychedelic neuroscience and mental health. He seems like our type of guy. Now, this is when this gets weird. So they suggested that Neanderthals may have feasted on maggots obtained from rotting flesh. By eating the decaying meat, these grubs would have accumulated high levels of nitrogen isotopes, which were then passed on to the Neanderthals and may therefore account for the values seen in the collagen samples. However, a new study suggests challenges this idea by calculating the quantity of maggots that Neanderthals would need to eat in order to achieve the nitrogen levels found in archaeological specimens. Depending on the amount of nitrogen the larvae were able to absorb, the simulation suggests that they would need to make up between 40 and 100% of the Neanderthal diet to generate the types of isotopic signatures we're talking about, which of course is absurd. No self-respecting apex hunter hominid is going to be feasting on maggots all day. Am I right? Okay, which is really what got me thinking about this in terms of the werewolf, okay? I'll make the case. Let me finish this real quick. So in some cases, the required contribution of maggots to Neanderthal protein intake exceeded 100%. Clearly not the answer. So ultimately then, the study author Jose Luis Gil Guerrero from the University of Almeria concludes that the consumption of insect larvae, even highly enriched specimens, would require entirely implausible dietary proportions to independently drive Neanderthal collagen signals so far beyond the apex carnivore baseline. Okay, now starting with this is the thing that got me. I was like, okay, so this is a super carnivore. This is literally one of those things that scares the hell out of you, right? It's the super carnivore, meaning that it's out there just eating flesh like crazy. You can't stop it. You can't slow it down. It's just going to do what it does, including, of course, going back into the mind's eye of where humans began. The oral tradition, the campfire story of the predator by dark of night that would sneak up on you and snatch you and drag you out into the forest and consume you, screaming in the middle of the night. Now, does it or does that not sound like the werewolf tale? Okay. Now, stay with me on this because this gets even more interesting. Love to hear your thoughts tonight. We're talking werewolves. Yeah, that's right. You bet your bippy. We're talking werewolves in July because I do what I want. The werewolf anomaly, ancient spirits in modern times, and is it possible that we've solved the werewolf anomaly? Maybe. Or, of course, you make up your own mind, maybe not. It's actually a good time to drop all the disclaimers. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a person. I'm just a dreamer. I'm just a storyteller. I'm just a talk show host. There's no truth to be found here. This is just ideas. This is putting connections together. This is considering the world in a different way from other people. That's it. Very simply. So if you're here for truth, you're totally in the wrong place. That's not what I'm claiming. I'm not making claims about anything other than sort of a flimsy case here on maybe that we know exactly where the idea of the werewolf came from and that it was a very real thing. So hold that thought. We'll get back to it momentarily. You already have the framework and the basis of why I'm suggesting that. But don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds in just a moment. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. In this case, that will be the Stoic Minute. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds in just one moment. Feeling stressed? Overwhelmed? In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get swept away by our emotions. Take a breath and find your inner strength with the Stoic Minute.
You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength.
The ancient Stoic philosophers understood that we can't control everything in life, but we can control how we react.
The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts.
Focus on what you can influence. Cultivate a positive mindset, and let go of what you can't change. Find your inner strength. Live each day with courage, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Embrace the Stoic virtues and find peace within. The Stoic Minute, brought to you by Jack in Oregon. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let us continue, shall we? Okay, so now, the loose framework here is obviously that I'm suggesting that the Neanderthal himself, the proto-human, at least one of them, was actually this idea of a werewolf, because we do know they commingled with humans at some point. We do know they even crossbred with humans at some point. There's many of us have Neanderthal actual DNA within us. And so it dawned on me that, wait a minute. So when we're talking about these ideas of the idea of a super carnivore, and even one that had sort of a human basis, the proto-human genetic bit, including this Neanderthal, was eating way more than a modern human could. And even beyond the idea of an apex predator, again, the hyena and what was the other thing it mentioned? Gray wolves and spotted hyenas, right? So it got me thinking now bear with me. If this is the case, and we did commingle with them, and these stories, these primordial stories of the oral tradition go back thousands and thousands of years, it makes sense to me that in some capacity, the werewolf of old, the idea that we're talking about some wolf hybrid human that was a super carnivore, was actually these entities here. Because what we do know about Neanderthals in general is that they hunted in packs. They supposedly did this to take down the great woolly mammoth and others, and of course other large mammals. And so that becomes the question. And if they were these super carnivores as we're describing, is it possible that the idea that the psychological primordial basis of what an actual werewolf is right here in front of us? Is right here, as science has always recognized as part of where we came from. But then these stories going as deeply as they do when it comes to the things that go bump in the night, don't wander too far out or you're likely to get snatched by the boogeyman. And of course, the vampire with the full moon. Think of this. Now, we've talked about the wolves in the past and hunting in packs and how terrifying that would be if you got lost, kind of turned around in the forest. It was the sun was going down and you hear a wolf call. Like, that idea just kind of sends a chill up my spine, because obviously where you hear one, you hear many. They hunt in packs. Other than the lone wolf archetype, they actually hunt together. And that's what we know about Neanderthals as well. So think of it this way. Go back, 50,000, 100,000 years. Whatever time we were actually commingling humans, Homo sapiens, with Neanderthals. And imagine the idea of a pack of wolves, cunning, hunting in packs, arriving when the sun goes down, and especially active during a full moon. Because, of course, you can see a little bit better. You can hunt a little bit better when you can see a little bit better by dark of night. Okay, there's my basis where we start. And the idea of not just the old I'm calling this the ancient spirit, right? These ancient spirits in modern times, meaning that just maybe, more than we like to give credit for, there is a basis for where the idea of the modern spirits come from. These primordial nature spirits, as I like to call them. Because in this case, it seems very much like a super carnivore, hunting in packs, cunning, smart, very, very difficult to take down if you encountered one-on-one in the forest or something. And maybe, just maybe, they ate humans for sport. Yeah, that would put a chill down my spine forever, and it would put a chill down anybody's spine hearing this tale told over and over and over again through the centuries, through the millennia. Because maybe, just maybe, we solved who and what the werewolf was. Real? Nah, somewhere in between. Totally cool. I got tons of wolf's tales to tell you and wild ideas tonight because that's the part, but that's where we start. And that's the case I'm making. Do you think it sounds plausible? Or do you think maybe I'm mixing some ideas here? And that's okay too. As usual, we're here to talk folklore, mythology. We're here to look at the world slightly differently than everybody else does and consider what we do not know. That's where we begin. We're going to get to, of course, we'll get to Peter's Stump in a minute. We'll get to the Bazajuan, which of course is the Basque vampire, or not vampire, werewolf. We're going to get to all kinds of stuff because there's all manner of fascinating tales tonight to talk about and consider as part of this that kind of back up these ideas. And of course, Bigfoot comes into this. Now, the idea of a lost hominid, Gigantopithecus, has been cited as maybe what Bigfoot is. The lost hominid, kind of extinct, except maybe a very tiny population, survives in the deep Pacific Northwest and other parts of the world that are very remote. Very much fits into this space, because what if we have, in the same breath, a little pack of these proto-humans running around out there, very smart enough to avoid helicopters and drones, smart enough to avoid cars when they hear them, smart enough to avoid people. And maybe they survive out there somewhere as their own pack of werewolves. Yeah, or I don't know. That's where we start. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. What do you know about werewolves? Do you think they're real? Do you think I'm onto something here? That maybe the primordial mind space of that oral tradition and things that go bump in the night are exactly what we're talking about? I don't know. I got lots of stories to tell you because there's lots of amazing stories regarding this stuff. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. One more time, 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. James Salcedo. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you tonight? I'm hearing great feedback on your show with Ricky there. Fire stuff, I'm being told. Welcome. How you feeling? And go right ahead. What's on your mind tonight?
I'm okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear. I muted myself, so I couldn't tell you, but I just told you. Yeah, you sound great.
Oh, good. You scared me. I was like, oh, no. Not already. Yeah, I you know what's amazing to me about this, all this is obviously there are reports to this day people have of seeing creatures, seeing Bigfoot, seeing what they think they must be some kind of werewolf or massive giant dog that can walk also on two legs. And a lot of times these are just fleeting sightings, roadside sightings. They'll have something show up on the side of a road or cross a road and then be gone. But they still get enough of a glimpse of something to say, I never thought this could be real. You know, this I thought all this stuff was just in stories, but I feel like I saw Sasquatch or Bigfoot or a werewolf. So this is stuff, you know, I'm there's all these reports from way back when, like you were talking about there earlier. Just now, I should say. I missed the first few minutes. But there's reports to this day of people seeing things, and I have no idea how they exist. But if they're being cited, then there must be something possibly to it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. So it's not just werewolves. Of course, that's what we're talking about tonight. And it is actually a little more timely than I thought because we have a full moon coming this week. So, you know, and out here in North America. So, it's a little more timely than I'm making it. But not just werewolves themselves, but the idea of these other figures you're seeing, these other entities. And it definitely goes back to that idea of these, ancient spirits I'm discussing, because the spirit itself is, as you know, it's wide and varied when you talk about what they are, where they come from. Some suggest, the human soul, the human spirit. Some suggest demons or angels or some combination thereof, and on and on and on, right? The Slender Man, these types of things that we sort of create in our mind's eye. But I think certainly when you talk about the storytelling, the oral tradition, and going back to the primordial space of what makes us afraid of the dark, this plays heavily because maybe, just maybe, when you look at things a little bit differently, you can solve some of these actual historical anomalies that don't make any sense. Because, a werewolf kind of doesn't make sense. We've never found one. We found the carcass of one, unless we have. What if they are these actual super carnivores of the Neanderthal themselves, and we have skeletons of these things all over the place now? Suddenly, it starts to kind of change at least my mind on what these things may have been and where that sort of folklore connect and mythological connect came from in the deep recess of where we began. I don't know, just an idea.
Yeah, I've heard, here and there, it's very, very sparse sort of reports of this, but I've heard accounts of people that appear to be from some part of a government coming to claim remains of Bigfoot. And there's obviously all the reports about, what happened to the remains of other like giants and all those things from before as well. So yeah, there's no publicly acknowledged, remains, but again, if there's any kind of secrecy to any of this at all and studying of any of these beings at all, how do we know 100% for sure that there haven't been these remains found and they haven't just been covered up?
Yeah, that's the old Smithsonian trope, right? Where they found like the Egyptian stuff down in the Grand Canyon and things like this. Look, I don't know. I'm open to these ideas. And look, I've actually got an unpublished manuscript here. I won't tell you too much. We're going to do a show on this eventually, talking about this exact thing and of a firsthand witness that said they saw something like this being covered up. Like I've got it right here, but right beneath me on the desk below my platform here. But I'm telling you, like that type of stuff to me, it does make some sense because when you don't know how to categorize it, it really calls into question all of anthropological history, all of the archaeology that we've been, pieced together and how weird do these things get. So, I'm open to those ideas. Clearly, I no proof here on my end, but it does make some sense to me that they would kind of hide the anomalies and not show them front and center in the museum. And they've said this in Ancient Aliens too. Some of those elongated skulls or whatever, they don't have them on display. They have them in the back room. Almost as if it's kind of an uncomfortable space to talk about some of the weird anomalies as part of it. But anyway, I digress. And that's a great point bringing it up that even if they did find, let's say they found a werewolf's actual skeleton, would we know it exists anyway? I think the answer would probably be maybe not.
Well, and if there are accounts of some werewolves being people that change into them and then change back, so then some of the remains would not look anomalous. They just look like regular human remains. But happy to sit on this one and see what comes up as we go.
You are the best. You know him, you love him. Of course, that is James Salcedo, a dear friend, the glue of the show, and the paranormal expert at Troubled Minds. You know where to find him, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down just a little bit. It says follow James. Click that. It's right there. It'll take you to his link tree and all the things, all the cool things he's got going on. Or just go to salcidoparanormal.com, SALSIDO paranormal.com. And there you go. You got all his stuff there. You can listen to his podcast right on the thing. There's links to his books and his YouTube and his X and TikTok and Facebook accounts and donation links, Patreon and PayPal if you want to help the man out. And of course, the link to his books. Please help our friend James. Appreciate you, brother. We'll talk to you momentarily. We're talking werewolves tonight. And that's the point. Look, is that sometimes you can look at these things in a different way and it changes everything. And maybe, just maybe, I'm going out on a limb here, and I really doubt folklorists would go, oh, hell yeah, Mike, you're onto something. I really doubt scientists would go, oh, hell yeah, Mike, you're onto something. But I do wonder if some of these blind spots are a little closer than we'd like to admit. And that's really what's on my mind tonight. I hope you guys are doing well. Happy Sunday. I know it's roasting hot out there. Everybody stay cool. That's that. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. What do you know about it? I'm calling this, again, the werewolf anomaly. Ancient spirits in modern times, and how weird does it get? Do you think a werewolf at any point was ever real? And if so, what do you think it would look like? 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Don't go anywhere. More after the break. More with James and your calls as well. Nobody on the line if anybody wants to jump in here. Catch you in just one moment. I got tons of stuff to talk about too, so if you want some more werewolf tales, I got you. Be right back. More Troubled Minds in just one moment. Do not go anywhere.
You're tuning into Troubled Minds, the show where mystery knows no bounds. Stay tuned for revelations that'll keep you questioning the fabric of reality.
There's a number in the bone, 12 to 14, higher than the wolf, higher than the ones we thought were highest. Someone ate what we could not survive. The isotope remembers. The isotope remembers what the story tried to tell before the story had a name. There was a man in the forest. There was a man that was not a man. There was a pack that hunted like our own, and a memory the wolf's bane still defends. The isotope remembers. The isotope remembers what the story tried to tell before the story had a name.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're going deep. We're going back to the primordial beginning of the oral history of werewolves themselves. Now, is it possible that the idea of a super carnivore is embedded so deeply in our dreams and in our ideas that we actually remember these Neanderthals, these super carnivores, as this article is describing them, as actual werewolves, flesh-eating hybrid people, monstrous, terrifying, hunting in packs, and looking at them sort of as the dark came in and the sun went down, that maybe, just maybe, this is the entity we've been talking about forever. And, of course, the idea of the werewolf not just plays here, but the idea of something like Bigfoot, that Gigantopithecus aspect of not necessarily a curse, but maybe science in some way or another, really backing this up through the anomalous cases of not just our oral, but our written history. Yeah, and of course, how weird does it get? Welcome back, James. Anything to add? We got a couple calls to get to here, and thanks everybody for being patient. Welcome to Troubled Minds.
Yeah, glad to be here. Yeah, I mean, I know I've heard, and there's probably other people that know this better than I do, but accounts from people that have been in different parts of the world centuries ago who talked about other beings out there. People with dog-like heads, or these different other beings that were human but also partly not human. And so if it's really amazing to think about that as being, if there's anything to that, then where did all those people go? Where did all those beings go? So, but yeah, looking forward to the calls.
Yeah, and once again, this is not isolated to just a particular werewolf. That's what we're talking about tonight. But as James very smartly said, a lot of these sightings are wide and varied all over the place, not just here in North America, but worldwide, which, kind of brings in the Bigfoot, the Yeti legends, this type of thing, the skunk ape. Some of this stuff really kind of plays in the larger context of maybe we've always been misidentifying these things. Maybe, just maybe, there's a pack of them out there running rampant in a very remote place that knows enough to hide from airplanes and knows enough to stay away from people. I mean, there are remote places on this earth that have not necessarily never been actually explored, but never explored well enough. And so I can dream up a ton of places where this stuff might be real and happening. But look, I don't really know. Like I said, no truth to be found here, just ideas. You think it's possible is really the question. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Hang tight, JJ. Kelly beat you first. Let's go to Kelly in Colorado. What's up, my man? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you tonight? Go right ahead.
Going on there, fellas? How you doing?
Pretty good. Thank you very much. Adjusting your volume. You scared me because you didn't answer right away, but I forgot there's like the little thing that says, welcome to Troubled Minds. Oh, welcome. I hope you're well. What do you know about this? I hope you're well as well. Thank you for popping in here as usual. An old friend from the days of yore. You taught me a lot of things about this stuff too. So half of this is your fault. So just so you know, but welcome, brother. What you got for us tonight?
Well, first off, good evening, fellas. How you guys doing? And everyone out there. So the whole werewolf thing, many lores, but some of the old ones would be like what James was saying, was trying to allude to, but they were called the cynocephali, right? And they were there's like packs of them that have been not only like. It seems to me that there was some kind of plan going on, maybe in Egypt, right? Because they had the House of Hathor, right? And they said that's where all the births were at. And, they were like, it's kind of like the Anunnaki story where they talk about, there was creation. They created that Adamu, right? And she's sitting on his lap. And, there's two different types. There was two different creatures back then. There was the Blennies and then the cynocephali. They were all known to be in Egypt, Lower Egypt, or Upper Egypt, which is actually like southern part of Egypt, and northern part, which even is kind of like reverse Upper and Lower Egypt. But there was known things about those people there, right? And throughout time, if you go back into some biblical paintings of like saints and stuff like that. Saint Christopher, he's also known as a cynocephalus. He was a dog man. He was, I got a bunch of pictures and stuff like that. I've been down that rabbit hole a little bit myself, but he was known as a tall cynocephalus. They were, not all of them were tall, but some of them were. And he was known to like carry the baby Jesus across the river. Or a young Jesus, whatever it was, but the painting, they have paintings on it. There's old metallurgy of like helmets, like back in the day, where the knights and stuff. Some people think that it was just the knights, but the way it's made, the only way it would be able to be wearable is if somebody had a dog kind of face. I have those pictures as well, but you also have like the Perry Reese maps, right? Even in those Perry Reese maps, even though he said that he took those, he didn't write them himself or draw them himself. He added some stuff to it, but he took a lot of that stuff from ancient maps, even older maps than what he would created in back in I believe it was like 1512. But yeah, he has on there, and in the Antarctica with no ice, you'll see the cynocephali and the blemmies, they're kind of like standing right next to each other. If you pull up the Perry-Reese map, it's down on the border, but you'll look around throughout the map, and you'll also see on different land areas, land masses. They've always talked about. They have talked about like the dogman, the cynosyphilis, right? You get stories, here in the old native talks. They always called them skinwalkers, which was like kind of a dog man. They would change into kind of a shape shifting, or even like the blemmies. You hear like those are the people that didn't have no heads. Their faces were on their chest. That to me, that kind of like reminded me of the story of like, they talk about the headless horseman. Maybe the whole story of the whole headless horseman was the blemmies, these people that didn't have any head, but their mouth and nose and eyes, everything else was on the chest of their bodies. But yeah, I mean, then you have Cyclops, Cyclops was known around and stuff like that. But I mean, when people ask where are these creatures at, there's no bones and stuff like that. I have, a couple of questions for them too. So how many times have you been up to the forest? And how many bears are out there in the world? And how many times have you been up in the forest and found bear bones and skulls? Hardly never. Almost never. Every single time I've been up there, I've never seen, and I go hiking a lot, and I've never seen no bone bears, no bone skulls, nothing. So, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of bears. So, that could be just like that. But if back in the day, you were still crossbreeding, trying to find different things you could, the strength of a bear or the eyesight of an eagle, stuff like that, But you'd have to have those animal parts connected to the human body, for them to do whatever whatever they were trying to accomplish, But think about it, you're only going to make onesies and twosies. But the only ones that were like groups and clans of them that I've ran across in my research was the blemmies or the cynosyphilis. Because they were known, throughout, the old times. And like I said, you'll find them on the Perry-Reese maps, and they're on different land masses all over the places. So, I mean, I don't know, man. For me, do I believe in it? I mean, I'm pretty sure, if I'm more lenient toward the Anunnaki story anyway, of like, that's why even like in the Greek, if you go back through time, even in Greek, Roman and stuff, you had like, the half man, half bull. I mean, who knows if these people were trying to do this stuff, you know what I mean? Or these, whatever these, if the stories were true, these aliens are coming down and crossbreeding. I mean, it's weird though. I mean, you can't say that it could never happen because, we got, we got DNA close to oranges or bananas and stuff like that. So, I mean, who knows?
Which is true. Shout out to Sacha in the chat says, why you don't find dropped antlers in the woods? They get eaten by rodents. And that becomes part of the question here when we talk about, let's say we're talking about something incredibly rare, a werewolf or a Bigfoot or something like this. And why it sort of sticks in our mind's eye when we talk about these ideas is just because they're out there doesn't mean we're going to easily find them. I mean, especially if it's a tiny, tiny, tiny population of them, right? And that becomes really the question here is, and I'm not really trying to even draw lines. You know me, I kind of don't like the labels of, let's say, a werewolf versus a Bigfoot. I think they're very similar in a lot of ways. And maybe even if these entities did exist in some capacity whatsoever, whenever, that they could be just sort of different folklore from different spaces, talking about a third thing that is neither Bigfoot and neither werewolf. You see what I mean? So, I mean, who knows? This is why we talk about these ideas and why, when you see new science like this, I think this is highly interesting. And it makes me wonder about the idea of these super carnivores that go back to the primordial human space. I mean, it makes a ton of sense to me, but once again, I'm no scientist, so what do I know?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be just kind of like if science was, creating a super warrior or something, like nowadays where they would, I'm pretty sure military would try to take that on board and try to make a super soldier or something. But again, if they're, maybe that's what they're doing, but they were leaving, like I said, the animal parts of the body onto the parts of the human, more or less, the shape anyway, the two limbs and legs, stuff like that. But Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. For me, I look at it and I believe. I mean, I don't believe in anything, but I do not believe that not in anything. You know, like everybody wants to call it fiction, or you know that it was, you know, some myth or something. And there's too many things that are out there that we have no clue about, and we think we do. We think all the, you know, so-called we know everything on this planet, and which we don't. I mean, we might know the surface dwelling things, but we don't know the subsurface or the underwaters, you know, creatures that live underwater, you know what I mean, or even these deep caves. There's like, again, there's stories like that, like, you know, the Hopi Indians, you know, they had the ant friends, which which was interesting. I brought this up for the other show, but in the Hopi, you know, they said these ant people came up out of the ground because there was something happened catastrophic on the surface of the earth, and they helped, you know, they brought them underground and was helping them survive. But Hopi, and in their language, ant is Naki, and friend is Anu, so it's Anunnaki as ant friends. I mean, you see these drawings all over the walls, you know, and some of these in South, you know, in the southern states down here, like Arizona, New Mexico, stuff like that. You know, same state that you live in too. But I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, even giants. You know what I mean? I mean, so what are we talking about here? Like you know, like none of this, part of it's true, all of it's true, none of it's true. I mean, I keep running across the story too. I don't know why, but you know, I hadn't been on the internet for a while because I was down visiting my mom. But you know, I jump back on, and I'm just running across a ton of stories about that. I don't know why either, man. The giant of Kandahar. It was just like plastered across, you know, my algorithms for some reason.
I can tell you why.
Even though I hadn't been on. Why?
Because Joe Rogan just had a guest on that was sort of retailing the account. So as soon as Joe Rogan talks about it, then it just surges back into the zeitgeist and everybody picks it up. So that's why. Like last week, I've got the clip. I'll send it to you and you could check it out. But yeah, that's why, because everybody's kind of jumping on this now and saying, come on, guys, this isn't real. And other people are saying, come on, guys, it is real. You know how the internet fights go. But that's why it's all over your feed, because it's back in the zeitgeist for a moment because Joe Rogan just talked about it.
I mean, for me, I mean, I believe in some of that stuff, man, like giants and stuff. I mean, why wouldn't there be? You know what I mean? I mean, I know we found some stuff. I mean, some of my research, I found that other PS found stuff, and some of that old media was hidden. You know what I mean? That's why when I seen that, and like I said, you know me from years back, but I started downloading and taking pictures of videos and all, like downloading everything I can, because, you know, it's a quick click and everything's just deleted from the internet. You know what I mean? So you find these things and make sure you know, I do anyway. I download it, take pictures of it, screenshots, you know, anything I can to get these things where, you know what I mean, where you might not even run across it again. So that's one of the main reasons why I do. So, and that's the same thing with history. You know, history's been changed so much. Imagine what everything's going on now with all this electronics and stuff like that. But yeah, man, for me, I believe, well, I wouldn't say I believe, I lean toward more or less that all these things are possible. I mean, why not? I mean, they've been talked about as myths for thousands of years, and you know, and it's still going on, whether it be Bigfoots, you know, the Dogman, Cynocephalus, Bellamy's, short people, midgets, you know, dwarves, fairies, you know what I mean? All these things are been on this planet, I believe, at one time or another. And especially if there's been, you know, known things from thousands, millions, if not millions of years old.
Well said. Well said. I'm with you. I like to keep a foot, you know, in the door without closing things. I don't like to truly believe in anything. I don't like to truly disbelieve in anything. Let's consider where this stuff came from. Let's talk about these ideas. And I think maybe, just maybe, eventually science may catch up and have a coherent way to actually describe something that you and I would both go, you know what, that makes sense, that this kind of is where these stories came from. And maybe, just maybe, enough of this stuff was real where, you know, that we're still telling stories about it thousands of years later. It makes a little bit of sense to me that way. Anyway, you're the best, brother. Appreciate you very much.
Yeah, man. One thing is, like, I wish there would be somebody out there, like, kind of like somebody that's not, you know, maybe with a lot of wealthy, right, and with a lot of money, and not, that's against all the mainstream science and, and all like religion and stuff like that, would be willing to bring out all this information and not hide it. You know what I mean? Because I have ton of different like alien body species, skulls, everything that's been around for like, I don't know, man, for as long as I know, and I've been around for, I'm gonna give my age, but like for a while. But I'm not, these things, other things have been around the world. You know what I mean? So I it's not just United States. I tried to track down it all from around the world. But even before all this other stuff that hit it, these UFO shows and stuff like that. But man, it's hard to look at that type of evidence and say no. You know what I mean? It's not. It's like, I mean, they got scientific, but like what I'm saying is, you got to have. I wish, and when I run across my money and become a multimillionaire, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a science lab that will never be false to the people and give true information out like that.
Amen. I humbly petition you to hire me in some capacity when that happens.
That will happen, Michael.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You're the best. Thanks again for popping in here. Thanks for the great ideas. And thanks for the job. I'm looking forward to it, and we can work together. You're the best.
All right, brother. All right, man. Good show tonight, and let's hear what everybody else has got.
Thank you. Fantastic call. You were the best. You know him, you love him. Kelly in Colorado. A good friend for a long time. He's the first guy to call this show and then call back, and he's been a good friend ever since. I was lucky enough to meet him and Michelle here in Vegas with their beautiful puppy who is now passed on, and very nice people. And Kelly's about my age. He's not trying to give his age up, nor am I, but he looks really good. Hey, sometimes when you got it, you got it. We're talking, look, and the period reads map is a good way to look at this too. When you try and put the folklore space together and talk about these ideas, because somebody believed in this stuff enough of that unseen realm that we don't know enough about to write this stuff down. There be dragons, the type of idea on these maps. Anyway, love to hear thoughts. We're talking, I'm calling this tonight the werewolf anomaly, ancient spirits in modern times. And do you believe werewolves in any capacity might be real? 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Thanks for being patient. Let's go to JJ on the Discord. You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and James. How are you tonight? Go right ahead.
Good evening. How are you?
Pretty good. I can't complain. It's hot as hell outside, but beyond that, I'm staying inside. I hope you're well as well.
Yeah, I am good. I'm here to kind of represent the Neanderthal contingent.
Oh, sweet.
Their
what do you
perspective
got
on the story.
Okay.
So there's kind of two parts of the story. One is that I'm pretty interested in genealogy, and I have opened my life up kind of to genetic genealogy. Like, I sent in the test and everything. I don't have much family left, so I didn't really feel like I was putting anyone in danger. But I got results back, like a lot of people, that are totally different than I ever expected. I was told that I have 97% more Neanderthal DNA than other human beings. Sorry, I'm laughing. It's just that's.
I'm glad you are, because I was gonna laugh for you. So go ahead. Hey, we got one on the line. We got a Neanderthal on the line. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No, the synchronicity of this is small but really funny. I actually my schedule changed at work, so I've had time before work to get back to the gym and swim every day, which has been great. But I have been eating a lot more meat than usual, because I've been buying these like quote unquote healthy burritos, because my schedule is so weird. Like fancy frozen, protein and all that. And I have been feeling great. And I was thinking today how weird it is. But the second part I just want to say is, like, not to bring AI into it, but that's been my introduction to AI, is in genetic genealogy, like forensic genealogy and things like that. And the biggest website in the world is kind of half run by volunteers from all over the world. It's run by the LDS Church. It's like the biggest genealogical database in the entire world. But a lot of it is volunteers from all of the world trying to decipher 17th and 18th century, 19th century handwriting on a volunteer basis. So on this website, you have a combination of editing by AI and then documents being inputted by people from all over the world trying to read, like, Ellis Island immigration documents. So your family tree is just getting edited all the time. But because my father's family comes from Sweden from forever, they came here during World War II. That hasn't changed. My mom's story has changed all over the place. And the first really concrete thing that I have going back 3 generations just came recently, and it was my great grandfather, I guess, his mugshots for prison in Montana. And I found out he looks like a wolf, he looks like a werewolf. He's a really scary looking dude. But he was like an amputee taxi driver who got busted for morphine during World War II. So anyway, the weird thing about that is I don't know how familiar you are with Twin Peaks, the David Lynch show.
I haven't seen it. Everybody, every time I say that, everybody's like, Mike, you're a knucklehead. You got to go see it. So it's on the list. I will see it, I promise, along with Beetlejuice, James. I'm sorry about that too. But yeah, I haven't seen it.
Well, my last point is just David Lynch is from the same part of Montana, and in a lot of his work, there's always a one-armed man. And I'm not saying the two are necessarily connected. It was just that he looked exactly like the one-armed man from. So that's the perspective of Neanderthal. We're doing our best in the modern world.
Just doing our best to survive. Hey, it's a rough life for all of us out here, just doing our best to keep up. So do you think there is that primordial connection maybe where the idea of that oral tradition of the werewolf itself might actually trace back to that? I mean, it seems like there's a clear link here to me that in the mind space going back millennia, that maybe, just maybe, this is what we've been talking about forever, including maybe Bigfoot too. Do you think that's a stretch, or how you feeling on that regard?
I'm an interesting use case. I mean, part of the reason I'm so into history is because I was raised by people that were first generation immigrants, but from Sweden. And then my godmother who helped raise me was the daughter of people from Transylvania, who were actually Jews from Transylvania who ended up in Auschwitz during World War II. So those were the people that raised me. And I've never really felt able to call myself an American, although I think you'd be really hard pressed to find somebody that was raised to be as excited about the potential for freedom in the United States. But I do have a history degree, so I'm not totally blind. But I don't know. But because I was raised by people who literally would tell me about weird things that happened to them in meadows, and Roma, we used to call them gypsies, but Roma people appearing, things like that. I've never really, that stuff kind of comes easier to me as a second generation European child of European immigrants, I think, in a way, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. It makes sense. And lean into that Neanderthal. Maybe, just maybe, there's some superpowers in there that we don't know about. Appreciate you very much.
Yeah.
Maybe not too much into the super carnivore aspect. Slow down. It's a good time to stay away from salad, but don't forget your salads. You're the best, JJ. I appreciate you listening. Thanks for sharing. And it is a hell of a synchronicity. I didn't know we'd get a real one tonight, and we certainly got one.
Okay. Good night, y'all.
Have a great night. I appreciate the call. JJ on the Discord. Please help our friends. JJ, if you got anything you're working on, let us know. I'd love to share it and get the word around. Fire stuff. And look, this is the point. We're laughing at ourselves a little bit here, but you recognize that there's a lot of this stuff out in the realm that is real. This stuff is actually real enough to consider what the hell is going on out there. And like I said, I'm not the one saying werewolves in particular might be real. I'm saying maybe they've been miscategorized for millennia. And maybe, just maybe, the super carnivore we're talking about with the idea of the Neanderthal and trophic anomaly is actually the werewolf in the primordial mind space of the oral tradition. Weird? Not weird? Somewhere in between? You tell me. Love to hear your thoughts. Nobody on the line if you want to jump in here. 702-857-6939. More from James coming up. Your calls as well. Don't go anywhere. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Be right back.
This is Troubled Minds. Your host, Michael Strange, the master of the mysterious, is here to guide you through the shadows of the unexplained.
welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting out of Las Vegas, Nevada. And of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand on the Underground Media Network. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we go back to the days of the Neanderthal. Now, not only that, there's this Neanderthal trophic anomaly where not only are they describing the proto-humans as super carnivores, but the fact that they're suggesting that they were eating mammoths or insane amounts of maggots because they cannot quantify how much meat these guys were eating. It's off the charts. One more time, just to make sense of this, if you're just joining us. So herbivore muscle meat is high in nitrogen 15 isotopes, and this is from the IFL Science article. And elevated levels of this element in ancient remains usually point towards a carnivorous diet. Gray wolves and spotted hyenas, for instance, typically show values of between 7.9 and 8.4% nitrogen 15, reflecting their meaty menus, straight from the article. Yet, Neanderthals often display values between 12 and 14%, which suggests that their lust for flesh was absolutely off the scale. Fascinating, don't you think? However, in modern humans, consuming more than 300 grams of lean protein per day typically leads to a potentially fatal condition called rabbit starvation, which we talked about when we started. Now, look, when I was reading this, I was like, dude, this sounds a hyper carnivore. Sounds, hunting in packs, terrorizing human populations. I mean, this sounds like a werewolf. This sounds like maybe this is going back to the oral tradition thousands of years ago, that maybe, just maybe, this is what we're looking at. And maybe they didn't disappear entirely. We bred with them. James, anything to add? And we'll go to a mystery caller on line 1. I got some stories to tell too, because there's some wild, absolutely wild things when you talk about werewolf lore.
Yeah, just great calls from Kelly and JJ. Really grateful actually to Kelly because he was able to describe in a lot more detail what I had a vague sort of memory of hearing about. So, but yeah, I do think also, when it comes to people maybe encountering these other people and possibly seeing them acting in ways that were different than what they were used to, possibly going after larger animals and all these things. I wonder how much sort of comparisons there were between these people and wolves and other animals like that, and to the point where they started describing these people as being like wolves or hyenas or all these other predator animals, and that thought form or all that thought focused on these people maybe had some effect on how they appeared.
Yeah, and certainly we know about the Salem witch trials and sort of the witch hysteria of that time period. But there's this one called, so Peter Stump is the guy's name. And I wanted to point this out because this is one of the wild tales when it comes to werewolves. But Peter Stump is, was a German farmer and alleged serial killer accused of werewolfery. Didn't know that was a word. Witchcraft and cannibalism. He was known as the Werewolf of Bedburg, and links are in the description down below if you want to read it. But so under torture, Peter Stump confessed to savage crimes, leading to perhaps the harshest trial during Germany's werewolf panics. And so some of these panics, like I said, is not just witchcraft. Sometimes it's this. And they put him on the rack or the wheel or whatever it was, some old school torture device, and made him confess to the fact that he murdered dozens of people, children, ate their hearts alive, things like this, and that he was given a belt by Satan himself, that while wearing this belt, it turned him into a predator wolf. Yeah, wolf-like vampire, not vampire, I keep wanting to say vampire, wolf-like werewolf aspect of things. And then so, of course, they executed him, and the belt was never sufficiently satisfied as to what happened to it. And so they assumed, again, this is all according to the historical record of this exact thing, they assumed that the belt had returned to Satan and to hell itself. But maybe, just maybe, again, this is being Michael Strange being super weird, but maybe that belt is out there somewhere. Also, of course, maybe not. I'm just being a little bit sassy tonight. Anything to add to that, James? I don't know if you heard that one, the German werewolf confessions of the 1500s there.
Yeah, I've heard of that belt. I've heard of just pelts, I believe, like the actual pelt of a wolf, giving people werewolf or wolf-like abilities. So, but yeah, that is I've heard about that before, and again, that goes to what we were both just talking about there. So, but happy to hear the calls as well.
You are the best. More coming up. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It is easy as that. I'm not sure who this is. Maybe an old friend, maybe a new friend. Mystery caller. You on line 1. You're on Troubled Minds. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? And welcome. Go right ahead.
It's Miss Honeybee.
Miss Honeybee, welcome. Thank you for listening on YouTube for such a long time, and thanks for all the kind chat. Thank you for calling. What do you got for us tonight? Go right ahead.
Thank you. Okay, I have a couple things and I wrote it down so I could focus on what you're talking about this time. Okay, so hypertrichosis is what the, I guess, medical or technical term for a human that grows hair all over their body is. And they were in freak shows and those kind of things in the current narrative, or, you know, in the not so past. Also, about the meat thing. It takes 7 days for cow flesh to digest in a human body. I don't know what people's beliefs are or anything, but there's truth in everything, or I don't want to say truth because that's, there's fact in everything, and fact provides evidence. Truth is actually attached to religion. So there's facts in everything. You just have to discern or use your intuition, you know. I don't know. For me, I know what's right and what's not right instantly. As soon as I hear it, I instantly know just by the frequency of it. But anyways, also, I wanted to talk about those things that you're talking about, like the cynocephaly dogman. Anubis was one of those. They're not humans. And that's the difference. They're not humans. They don't have a soul. They don't exist like we do. This just my opinion, of course, all I can ever throw out there. But in my opinion, yeah, that.
Yeah, no, you're allowed
to add. Sorry, can I add about the meat?
Of course, go ahead. Of course.
You cannot get life from a corpse.
Okay.
That's pretty hardcore, but yeah. Anyways, thanks, Mike.
No, don't go anywhere. Thank you for the call. But here's the thing, real quick, on all that stuff. Like, your opinion is okay. Yeah. That's why we do this. We talk to each other. We learn some things from each other, and we consider what we know and what we don't know. And all that's valid. I mean, regarding, the eating flesh of the dead and there's things like this, of course, we're talking about animals and whatnot. It's still one of those things, in my opinion, that we need to fix. It's just not cool for us to be, just butchering billions of animals every year. You know what I mean? Like, it rubs me the wrong way, though, right? I'm still eating meat like a knucklehead. So it is certainly one of those cultural spaces where we come together and we have to be able to figure this out. And by not bringing it up, we're not talking about it. We're not thinking about it. So certainly that part plays here. And the non-human element that you also brought up definitely plays. I mean, it's very big in the zeitgeist, that ancient astronaut theory type stuff, where maybe these entities like Anubis, as you described, were here a long time ago and they described them perfectly. But in this particular case, maybe, just maybe, we're looking at something else entirely. So I'm describing them as sort of a proto-human. You're describing them as not human at all. And I think it all plays. And that's why we need to talk to each other about all this stuff.
Thank you. Hey, can I say something about the meat, the flesh? The animals are traumatized. So we're eating, people are eating meat, milk, etc., from traumatized animals, and they're not treated well all their lives, or maybe not all of them. But I live in the Houston area, and at Kroger's, the only animal flesh that you can get there that's grass fed and open range is for dogs, which is crazy. But yeah, that is pretty crazy. Yeah, thanks.
I appreciate the call. Thank you for listening. Thanks for being smart about these ideas, and thanks for all the kind chat and YouTube. Always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great night.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Bye.
Miss Honeybee on YouTube. Thank you very much for the call. And yeah, like I said, I'm not so dogmatic about these things, about, let's say, my ways of life, that I need to, kind of scrunch the conversation into a belief space of mine. Like I said, I try and put my foot in the door and not close the door on belief and not leave it wide open either. Let's talk about what we're missing, how we need to recognize what's happening in the modern world, and how this works from now till then, going back to the origin, the dawn of the human mind. I think it's a lot. And I think it's something clearly that doesn't get talked about enough, because that's why I do it. It's, not chasing their narratives of the modern mass media. It's looking at things that are interesting to me. That certainly, look, how often can you have a conversation where you're like, let's talk about werewolves, and you see how wide ranging this is? It's wild. Everybody's always like, kind of dialed into keep it on topic, but our topics are so wide when you talk about this stuff, because there's so many elements that really converge in the conversation and mind space. James, anything to add? We got Herschel coming up, and then Jen after that.
Yeah, no, great call. And I'm with you, Mike. I don't like, all the sort of the animal material that I end up eating. But it's part of the whole system where they want you to be eating what they want you to be eating. And, if they can make it cheap enough for you, you have to buy it because you're on any kind of budget, which most people are, then that's part of the problem too. So, but yeah, looking forward to the rest of the calls.
Yeah, it is weird. I saw this on it was a conspiracy meme or something, where it's like, if you go buy a salad, like a pre-made salad somewhere, it's like $12. But if you go buy like a 99-cent chicken sandwich from McDonald's, it's 99 cents. It's like, can we please make this make sense? How does this not make sense? I mean, have you ever tried to go spend $12 in produce, just $12 in produce? You could make 100 salads. It's absolutely crazy. Anyway, I'm sure you guys, not telling you guys anything you don't know, but some of the absurdity of this is the inversion of what we always talk about, the clown world carnival, and why things are the way they are. We're sort of keeping industries moving that maybe should be helped out in a ton of different ways. Anyway, I digress. We're talking werewolves tonight, and this Neanderthal space of the trophic anomaly and these super carnivores. Weird, right? Suddenly, like I said, some things clarify in my mind when we start to consider the primordial mind space of the Neanderthal as maybe, just maybe, the werewolf himself. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Let's go to Herschel Sterling. Commercial Herschel, what's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and James. How are you tonight? Welcome. Go right ahead.
It's making me think of this story. This guy named Bill. His name was Bill, and he had a really, really bad abscess, and his root canal, he had to get he had an abscess, and he was infected all the way down to the root. He had to get his whole root canal and get the whole thing removed. And he lived in Canada, so he had to wait. And he was really freaked out because it hurt so bad. And they gave him pain medication. He had to eat through a straw and everything like that, but as this date came up, I believe it was August 6th of last year, if I'm not mistaken, he kept calling back the health services saying, look, I've got to get this done by August 6th. I've got to get it done by August 6th. And you don't understand, it's very serious. And they're like, sir, there's nothing we can do. You're on a waiting list, and the soonest we can do it is going to be August 8th. And he's like, you've got to find a way to get me in there before the evening of August 6th. You've got to find a way. You've got to find a way. And he was really getting anxious and really freaking out. And he was walking around talking to himself, and he was bumming out. And anyway, August 6th comes, and it's a full moon, and Bill changes into the werewolf, and he's just howling in pain and just screaming at the moon, and he couldn't feed because he couldn't eat. If he tried, it would hurt too much.
The werewolf with a bad tooth.
And the next morning, when they found him in the woods, deceased, the official cause of death was root canal infection.
Boom. Boom. Is this one you wrote, or is this are you making this up on the fly? What is this? Is this a real one? Where'd you find
What are
this?
you saying?
What are you saying?
Are you accusing me of making stuff up, Mike?
No, I'm asking, where's your source, friend? Because I've never heard this one, but I absolutely love it. And you are a writer and a great storyteller, so I'm suggesting that maybe, just maybe, you wrote this one yourself.
I just did it on the fly.
Nice. Nice. I love it. I love it. Maybe this one should be fleshed out into a larger space. I think there's a lot here.
It would be funny. It's a funny story. It's like a funny premise.
It is a funny story. And I was like, okay, so by the 6th.
Flash August fiction is right around the corner. Maybe I'll work it out a little more.
Right on. Love to hear it when you do. Appreciate that. And so this is the point, right? So not just, let's say, the mind's eye of the primordial space of these entities, these, old ancient spirits as I'm describing them. Clearly there's an oral tradition here that's still with us today about a lot of things. Aliens included, the spirits we're always talking about, the paranormal, all this other stuff. What do you think? Do you think there is maybe legs on this theory that the Neanderthal is that mind space of our primordial werewolf itself? Does this make some sense to you, or am I off the rails here?
I don't know about off the rails, but the Neanderthals were a lot more advanced than we generally give them credit for. Like, things have been found out about them. They weren't as undeveloped as we think, as we've always thought. Like, we thought of them as like these primitive cavemen, but there were a lot of parallel hominids alongside humans, and we outlasted all of them. Probably because of the lie.
Which is?
Well, the lie, like the ability for us to lie and trick people and deceive people, like that we do that. Our species does that. Maybe they weren't liars. Maybe those other parallel hominids didn't have that feature of being able to be deceptive or clever. And we ended up just killing them all off instead of living with them, or something along those lines. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thinking. Like, maybe we purposefully just genocided them because they were competition
and easy to fool because they always told the truth.
Maybe something along those lines. I don't know, of course, the specifics, but like, we tend to be a very ruthless and cruel species. Just the things that we do to each other now. Like, can you imagine what we would have done to a different branch of our species? Like, you know what I mean? So I don't really know, but I do know this. I heard JJ talking about her test. I took the test too. I took the test with 2 different companies, and I didn't get any Neanderthal readings back. And I emailed each of the companies and I said, hey, I wanted to get my Neanderthal readings. I thought that was going to be included. And both of them said, if it's not there, there wasn't enough to read. So, and my family comes from the northern part of the Slavic regions, like by Belarus and Poland, going back a long time. Like 80% of my DNA is from that region. And it makes me wonder if people who were in proximity to that region for a really long time are the first ones to breed the Neanderthal out.
I wonder.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really know how that works. But if the people who are from the Caucasus region for a very long time, and Europe is Europe has only recently become static. It was always a crossroads and always a place where hardly anybody stayed for very long because of the crazy temperature changes. And people were nomadic for most of human history. They weren't agriculturalists, you know, so it was a pass-through zone. Nobody even knows what the original Europeans looked like. Like the indigenous Europeans, nobody even has a clue what they even looked like. They're barely understood as how they might have lived. 6%, people in Iceland have 6% of the original DNA of Europe, and the Italians and the Scandinavians have around 2% of the original European. And that's because when the Huns came in, when Attila, not the Huns, when Genghis Khan came through, people fled north and south. They went north by sea to Scandinavia, and they went south by land and sea to Iberia, Spain, and Italy to get away from them. You know, and then the other people were all, you know, went to Iceland at some point. So it's like that. There's hardly nobody knows. Like they're the first indigenous group of people to be completely like disappeared, you know. So nobody really knows any. So Europe has always been a place of transience, and it's only in the last, you know, few thousand years, you know, since the agricultural revolution, that it's become even close to stable in terms of the population. You know what I mean? But so the thing of that, I just wonder about that though. Like, how come I don't have enough Neanderthal to read, and they say Europeans have the most, you know, and it's like, well, if I'm from the place where Neanderthals lived most recently, then, and I don't have enough of that DNA to read it, maybe it's because the people who live there breed it out first.
Maybe.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Same. And I think that type of thing. And I'm going to say, too, go on the record and say that the 23andMe and some of these things that you do, Ancestry.com, I don't think they're entirely accurate either. I think it's sort of a broad brush. You know, oh, you got some of this, you got some of that. Hey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure I trust any of that whatsoever. So
yeah, I didn't use them, but I'm sure that I thought about, should I do these things? And I was like, oh, if I do them, then everybody's going to get, the government has my DNA already. Like, you know what I mean? I've been swabbed. I was a war protester. So one of the things they did is they made us swab our cheeks, you know, like to violate us.
Yeah, put you in a database to find out how much Neanderthal you had in your blood. maybe that was the goal.
This person respects human life. We have to get his DNA.
Exactly. Let's figure out what the hell's wrong with this guy. Yeah, I mean, that's why, once again, that's why it's important to talk to each other, because some of these things, imagine if we had just a genealogy group where they talked about the results they got back, and that was you had 3 conversations per week about just that, and people called in and talked about just that. I'll bet you there would be some shenanigans, and that's just my intuition that suggests that.
Oh, so, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Appreciate you, brother. We're just about out of time. If you got more, you're welcome to stay after. I appreciate you. Thanks for popping in.
Anymore. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Mike, for the show. Great calls, everybody, and all that. You know, the stuff we always say.
And you're the best.
And, I'm listening. I'm here. I'm listening. I'm into it.
Appreciate it very much. You're the best. You know, we love it. That is a Commercial Herschel. Follow the Substack. Search it just like it is. You'll find all the things he's working on. Very smart guy. Tons of great ideas. Brilliant writer. I love the story on the fly. Yes, I sniffed it out. I knew he made it up. I knew it because it was too good to be drawn from history. Commercial Herschel Substack. Check that out, please. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down and you'll find it says follow Herschel. It's alphabetical there, so please help our friends. That's what it's all about. Check out his books, check out his podcasts, check out his Substack and all the things he's working on. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Be right back. We got more on the way. We got more from James. We got Jen in Missouri and your calls as well coming up. Do not go anywhere. Be right back.
This is Troubled Minds. Your host, Michael Strange, the master of the mysterious, is here to guide you through the shadows of the unexplained.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we go deep. We go way back to the primordial mind space of the beginning. Meaning, of course, the oral tradition. Meaning the werewolf anomaly, I'm calling this ancient spirits in modern times. Now, we started with this article from IFL Science. The Neanderthal trophic anomaly. Our extinct cousins either ate mammoths or insane amounts of maggots. Now, of course, if you're a hyper carnivore, a super carnivore, certainly you're not eating maggots. That's ridiculous. And so the question really becomes, is this the archetype and the ancient primordial story of the werewolf itself? I don't know. I think you could probably make a scientific case for this. And, fascinating stuff. Like I said, we're talking about nitrogen-15 isotopes in their bones and, the elevated versions of, a gray wolf and a spotted hyena shows values between 7.9 and 8.4% of this nitrogen-15. But the Neanderthals display somewhere between 12 and 14%, which is an unbelievable amount of meat that is being eaten, so much so that it would starve a modern human with that what's it called, the rabbit starvation. So what's going on with this? Like I said, it certainly dawned on me when I saw that article. I thought, werewolves, holy crap. Like now we're cooking with gas, and so here we are talking about it. Anyway, like I said, no truths to be found here, just ideas. What do you know about this? What do you know about werewolves themselves? What do you know about the primordial dawn of the mind space of the darkness and the monster in the woods? And of course, how weird does it get? James, anything to add? And we'll go to Jen in Missouri, the Arcane Observer.
Yeah, no, just great calls from everyone so far, and can't wait to hear from Jen as always.
702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Jen in Missouri, the Arcane Observer. What's up? You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and James. How are you? Go right ahead. What do you got for us on werewolves?
Hey, I'm really happy to be here. Can you hear everything okay?
Yep, loud and clear. You sound great.
James, it's good to see you. You did a great job on the show tonight with Ricky. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to see you. So I think that... So isn't it weird? No, don't be sorry. So think about werewolf movies. That's immediately what I think of, and the metamorphosis of the werewolf, how they change from, like, they're living their, it's always like they're living a normal life, and then something triggers something, and, it's not, they're not always born with it. Sometimes they're like scratched, or they have an experience, or something happens. But the experience of being a werewolf, I'm thinking of Teen Wolf, like specifically for some reason. But in that movie where he like transforms, and then he's living as this wolf man, and then he comes back to himself, and it's like a painful experience almost. It's like you're seeing the entire like human evolution hypothetically from that kind of state really quickly. Like it's being rushed really quickly. So something that took maybe, who knows how long to manifest through different species to where we are now was happening, for the werewolf, like in a very quick, abrupt way, which was like, almost like sort of painful. But then it reminds me too, then thinking about that, it's like it's saying that we are descendants from something like a werewolf, like something like a wolf type man, like, or human being, you know, that makes sense. If you think about how could we have gotten here, like what carried us to this point? Here we are sitting in the lap of luxury compared to like the way it would have, you know, well, I guess it depends on how you interpret the lap of luxury, but you know, you don't really, we've outsmarted it now that we've conquered it, you know, like it's as if that's the idea. So if we were initially sort of these primordial beasts, you know, that were driven by the senses and still kind of rooted with all the other creatures, all the other animals. And then something happened, you know, or that brought us, that propelled us, that brought us to where we are now. Because we couldn't have survived like this. Like if you take any of us and just take us out, you know, like you could outsmart it for only so long. But we're talking about brute force surviving the elements, like some deep, truly ancient root ancestor of who we are today that is something that somehow gets called up inside of the person. It's like it's something that's summoned into the person through some certain circumstances, or sometimes it's witchcraft, sometimes it's, you know, because sometimes there's spells that are cast upon people and they become a werewolf when they, you know, or when they die, they do. So there's all kinds of lore about this. But it's like, it's possible that, you know, at some point in human existence, because we couldn't have started out like we are right now. There was no way we could have, you know, even outsmarting it. You couldn't have begun without smarting it. You would have had to begun as being a beast, like the Lord of Beasts. Like that must be something that's running in the blood of modern humans. Maybe that's why so many people are going crazy all the time. Like the format is just not correct for the system. You know what I mean? Like people are kind of having a hard time with just the control. I don't know. I think there's something inside of people that displays that. And when they lose control, look at what happens. Like when people kind of get out of whack, like zoo animals almost, like animals in confinement, like how they act out and act so bizarre under certain circumstances. It's like they're broken, like the animal is broken or something like that. Like when you see zoo animals that start doing weird things, people are like that sometimes, you know, and then sometimes there's this like outlashing. But then the idea would be that, so we may have evolved somewhat from something. Of course we did. We had to have evolved from a intelligent beast, primal world, walking around as like, you know, master of our domains at some point. Not only just like, so I mean, that had to have been something that was going on that you can't see now. But that's what they talk about with that weird, what was this weird softness that came in that made humanity what it is? And a divine spark and all of this. It would make you sensitive to the environment and everything. That had to have been gained also, though, from the previous experience of living so close to the source of, because we can see that it's beautiful and it's brutal. And that's what life is like. But could they still, the original species still exist somewhere? Like maybe we didn't evolve from them per se, but maybe there was a mingling that was somehow that happened. I don't know. But a lot of theories about that, you know, in Egypt under Bast, and there was this whole, and actually, I mean, in many of the different lores that they're talking about, you know, human animal hybrids like that. I don't really think, I don't know that it's quite like what we think, you know, like the Sphinx and everything. I think it's just scary for people to see anything else that has like a human face. Like I've seen those pictures of fish from the bottom of the ocean and they look like people. Or like if you look at something and it looks too intelligent, you can't eat it. Like there's like this weird thing. There's a weird feeling there of like, if you can recognize the intelligence, it's kind of inappropriate to do. Like, you know, different cultural belief systems about that, about what is edible and what is not. But so that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's all, and it's so wide and varied. That's the problem, right? And look, I get that given again, you know, archaeology, given history, given anthropology, and all the things, right? Like there's tons of letters people sent to each other. I mean, we know what was happening in, you know, dare we call it polite society back then when they could send letters. We're talking hundreds of years ago, but going back thousands and thousands of years, there's a point where it goes dark before writing itself. And that's the stuff that fascinates me, because it's cooked into us. There's no doubt about it. And like you described, some of the zoo animals absolutely lose it sometimes. And I mean, there are terrifying examples of elephants in the big top that have been there for 20 years doing the routine, and they just lose their mind and they like start murdering people. It's just like, because clearly we aren't meant to be circus animals. We aren't meant to work 9-to-5 jobs. We aren't meant to have this sort of prison mentality around us all the time, even though, and many people have said this, I'm not a pioneer here, even though it feels as if we're supposed to feel free, we don't feel free at all. And this really becomes part of that. That primordial space of breaking free of the constraint, even if the constraint is an invisible one. It's something you have to sort of conform to. You lose your mind. It happens a lot. And this is why, once again, it's important for us to talk to each other, to recognize these things. And if you're feeling stress and stuff, hey, there's a reason for this. This is not how we were manifest over the millennia. We are not supposed to go to some cubicle and with some weird light above us and stare at a monitor all day long. Like, come on now. That's not what this is about. And so anyway, I digress, but you're absolutely spot on about that. Regarding the Neanderthal and the idea of the werewolf itself, do you think there's a commingling there, at least in the primordial mind space? Do you think that maybe this is where this idea came from, or do you think it's even far deeper than that?
I don't know. I've seen the Neanderthal skulls and their teeth, and their bones are just so heavy and dense and like whole other model level. Like, it's like, the old cars that were like boats, like really well built, and they're like really strong and made of steel and all of this. That's what they were. Like, we're like the Dodge Neons of 2012 or whatever, and they were like these old Buick boats. Like, the whole system of the structure of their bones is heavy. It looks like it's made to like last for a really long time. So I always theorized that they were like possibly living, there are stories and lore that they would live for extremely long periods of time, and whether there was a type of species or people or folklore that there were these creatures that could live that were humans, basically like ancestral humans. And that's the Neanderthal would be the idea, or the Desovian, or, however, there's several different ones, but in their teeth are like, if you take a human skull next to a Neanderthal skull, it just seems really, I don't know. And then intelligence doesn't mean compassion. I'm not saying there's no species that's purely evil. That's ridiculous. Like, we're afraid of lions, but we know that they're not evil. You know what I mean? Or just malevolent. They just happen to eat anything. And so the Neanderthal might have been something kind of like that. Really impressive predator, but like that. And then we are somehow mingled with, maybe that predator was like that apex lion, wolf, predator, human, which is makes a lot of sense, actually, that would have been at some point. And that they would have transitioned into like, or encountered, or who knows? Because there's a melding of the oceans. Like, there's like a sea people in a lot of the lore. And then there's like these, so I don't know. There's all these different talks of lots of different types of human-like beings, and some of them possibly existing on past, or that they were able to somehow, because we're not looking right now at who we are today in 2026. Go back to 1942, and go back to 1754. Go back to the 1500s. I mean, you were to talk to somebody from the 1400s right now, everything about them would be completely different from where we are now. So we're too much in the current mindset of like just one couple of generations right here, right now, about what the big picture could look like, But I think that the werewolf, as a true species being, I think that that's something possible, or something that looks like as big as a bear, but it's a type of wolf that can like come up and like is a very intelligent hunter. Can you imagine being hunted by real wolves anyway, let alone a giant wolf?
Like a person,
that would be terrifying.
With a skull that's, as you described, almost twice as big as a modern human skull. I mean, these entities, the Neanderthal themselves, just as we know them, not sort of adding the werewolf aspect to them, but just a pack of them hunting you. wolves alone are as scary as hell. Like we said, you hear a howl in the woods and you're like, oh crap, it's getting dark. I got to go find my car. But imagine that there is no car. You got turned around. You're lost. The sun has just slightly gone down. You kind of know the direction you should be heading. And you have some sort of, velociraptor level connective hunting pack of human intelligence coming at you that are basically monsters, meaning, like you said, not necessarily evil. Yeah, exactly. Predator. Like that you had no chance as a regular Homo sapien taking in a one-on-one fight, but there's 10 of them coming after you and they're coordinating. Good game. Your dinner tonight, that's terrifying.
Yeah, trying to outsmart that or something, or figure out how to survive that, and somehow did. Well, I mean, you have to consider, why are we here and they are not? But some people say, well, because they never existed. But the old stories say they did. Like there's not only just old stories, but then we're seeing these weird anomalies through our sciences that are giving us these little, weird leads to kind of put things, of course you're going to put patterns together, but it's odd. And then just the symbolism throughout the movies and the books and everything, that we're fixated on this as something we just weren't willing to give up. It's like a tradition we refuse to let go of. Our monsters continually go forward because there's some reason we must continue to tell these stories, and no one gets through this world alive without hearing about a werewolf. Which is really interesting. There's some reason that we have to tell these stories over and over again, generation after generation, in any form necessary, because we might be afraid that they're going to come back, or that something that could happen somehow. But what would that mean? Like turning into beasts ourselves, or is there a whole nother species hiding from us? But I mean, people would be surprised at the kind of horrific things actually, they would not be. People are not surprised, but horrified by what people are capable of. Normal looking people. It's terrifying to imagine. And that's the worst of it. Just saying, like, what is it in their psyche that's not showed on the outside? If you could, if their inside was shown on the outside, you would see, but it's almost like we're in, it's like a mask, so you don't know. But is there the transformation, or like I was saying with the Teen Wolf movie? I don't know. That's the first thing that comes to mind as far as, Silver Bullet's the best werewolf movie there is. But in Teen Wolf, his transformation, where he's like, oh no, there's something weird happening, and he's turning into a wolf. It's the best. But I think it really shows either, the human path, that's what it's been like. There's something like that has happened. Or it's something within us that can come out at unexpected times. That we must tame the beast inside or something. I don't know. But I'm going to hop off here.
Fire stuff. Before you go, I pulled this quote out when I was talking to Herschel, but it fits with what you just said too. This is from Franz Kafka. So I was ashamed of myself when I realized life was a costume party and I attended with my real face. And that's how I feel a lot. This is just who I am. I'm slightly socially awkward. I'm trying to battle through it. I'm interested in wild and interested in crazy things. I don't want to pick fights and be rude and mean to people. I don't want them to be rude and mean to me. And that's just what you see is what you get. And so I am, this quote hits hard because I'm like, oh, we were supposed to obfuscate more. We were supposed to angle more. We were supposed to be more Machiavellian. We were supposed to, clickbait more. We were supposed to lie to each other more. Anyway, very much, Herschel brought it up. You slam dunked it. Appreciate it very much. If you got anything on that, go ahead. Otherwise, I appreciate the call.
Yeah, I think I had a great time. Yeah, I think that we are, we're aware of when we're performing and when we're not, and then you have to find of course I prefer the decency of people having certain protocols in certain environments. And I think that that's always been something that's kind of nice. But you cannot deny yourself the exact purpose of why you're here. You have to live as authentically as you can, because that will be the legacy. So it's you want to, any way that you can, but then the beast, the inner workings of the subconscious and what has brought us all here, the way that it has to always, face the type of existence we live in. It's like if you ever seen a barn cat or a wild cat versus a house cat, there's a big trade-off there, Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. But the house cat can't be the barn cat, and the barn cat cannot be a house cat. You know, there's something really interesting there about humanity. They can be the same species, but one can't be the other, you know. So it's really incredible. And have a great night, and thank you so much.
Well said. Appreciate the call. You were the best. That's Jen in Missouri.
I'll see you later. Have a good night.
Yes. Take care, Jen.
Take care. The Arcane Observer, Jen in Missouri, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down just a little bit. It says friends there. Click that. Do the thing. It's alphabetical right there. It says Jennifer. Please follow her. She not only does she have her own channel on YouTube, please go follow that. She's also a co-host with James on Salcedo Paranormal on the weekends. So, hey, look, a lot of Jen going around and fire ideas. That's the point. Let's talk to each other. Let's support each other. Let's share ideas. Let's go find these places. Like I said, it's free to go follow a YouTube channel. Can you please go follow James? Go follow Jen. Go follow all the people that make this show go, because it's not about me. The whole dream was troubled minds, plural. It was not a troubled mind. I could have called this a troubled mind. But this is about collaboration. This is about dialogue. This is about ideas. It's about sharing. It's about wondering. What don't we know? And what do we wish we did? Anything to add, James? And we'll go to Eric and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, just real quick, great call from Jen. Great calls, everyone. And, you know, it's funny when you were talking about how we're sort of in that invisible sort of, I guess, zoo, you could almost call it. And you were talking about the whole, we're not supposed to be doing like 9 to 5 jobs, but there's also the other side, which is people that can't do those jobs. They're just supposed to sit at home. I've talked about this before a lot. They're just supposed to sit at home and just relax and just enjoy, you know, just being at home all the time. And I tell you, I have a lot of anger that's developed over the years, and just because of my situation that is part of being in a different part of that invisible zoo, so to speak. So I do think Jen could be right about that. There's that ancient, I don't know, energy that part of us that I think is still there, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, we're not supposed to be. You see some of these, like I said, I mentioned the big top and the elephants that just lose it and just start killing people and go on a rampage and escape. But also there's like, you know, the tales of the bear that was stuck in a zoo forever in this tiny little pit that just going around circles and circles and circles because there was nothing else to do, no other stimulus. He was chained to a pole, and so all he could do was walk in circles, and they let the guy go. And then he goes and finds a tree and just walks in circles and circles and circles because that's all he knows. That's all he's ever known. It's sort of the prison of his mind that we build for ourselves. But we're talking about something greater than that because we're talking about society building it for us. And if we don't recognize, if we don't change it, and look, very much this show is a way to do that, to sort of have that human connection outside of approved spaces. And then recognize why we're agitated. Because if it's 2026 and you're not agitated, please write an ebook and send me your secrets. I'm buying it. I want to know why you're not agitated when the rest of us are. Because we all have a little bit of that in us where we're like, why? Why do things have to be like this? Because I could literally just throw out a questionnaire to everybody out there and be like, give me the top 5 things that piss you off about the modern reality. And y'all would be like, blam. And we would have an unbelievable amount of information, and probably 95% of it would be true. Okay. This is what I mean. We sense this. We feel this. We are not built for this. This is not where we came from, and this is not where we're headed. So how do we reconcile those things and then make it happen? I don't know. But certainly if nobody's bringing it up, it absolutely is not going to happen. That's the way I see it. Real quick, hang tight, Eric. Give me a second here. I want to point this out because this is really important. I've never talked about this. I never found this until tonight. Shout out Claude. Shout out the powers of generative AI and kind of doing deep dives into some spaces that you would never find otherwise. But I found this, an oddity from Herodotus, the Nurian sorcerer werewolves. Ever heard of this? Yeah, me neither. For all the years I've been doing this, talking about these wild and weird ideas, I've never heard of this. Well, I'm going to tell you what it is real quick. It's one paragraph in Herodotus History's Book 4, Chapter 105. So the passage sits inside the long ethnographic tour of the peoples of North Scythia, Scythia, during the setup to Darius the Great's expedition around 513 BCE. The full report is one paragraph, one single. In most translations, it reads roughly as follows. The Nuri, Neuri, appear to be sorcerers. It is said by the Scythians and by the Greeks settled in Scythia that once a year, each of the Neri becomes a wolf for a few days and then reverts to his original form. Those who tell this do not convince him, but they tell it and they swear to its truth. Now it says Herodotus files it as sworn testimony and personally disbelieves the reports, but it was interesting enough for him to record it in a time when he was a historian. So I thought it was highly fascinating, but of course that doesn't mean it's real. It certainly fits the narrative tonight in terms of what we're talking about. But like I said, you don't have to believe anything here. The whole point is to talk about these ideas outside of the acceptable space of modern discourse and consider what we don't know. So I don't know. Do I believe that? I would say no. However, let's talk. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Again, I've been doing this for years and years and years and years, and I'm running into things I've never heard of, which is fantastic, which tells you the amount of amazing ideas in this world is absolutely endless. Let's go to Eric in Ohio. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and James. How are you? Go right ahead. What do you know about werewolves, my man?
I'm good. Hi, James. Hi, Michael.
Hello.
Oh,
good evening.
Well, werewolves. Well, as far as written record is concerned, they can be traced at least back 3,500 years, which is on the order of the vulture stele, which is one of the first things that we have that shows pictures of military formations. Yeah, man, they go back that far. They are part of the ancient festival of Zeus that would take place in Arcadia, Greece, and people who unwittingly consumed human sacrifices were said to transform into wolves for 9 years. So at least that far back, people were saying the idea of eating human flesh was connected with werewolves. And before Herodotus was writing for Rome, Ovid was writing the Metamorphoses, which we talked about, I think, once when you did a show about Gorgon. And I had to read Ovid when I got my bachelor's in history, and he talks about the king of Lycion of Arcadia, same place, who was transformed into a wolf by the god Jupiter as punishment for him sneakingly serving Jupiter human flesh, which was found out by the god, and he got turned into a wolf for it. So it's like the punishment was aligned with still this whole idea of eating human flesh. And in the 15th century, in between Swiss and Germany, when I was getting my master's in history at FGCU, I took a seminar on witchcraft in the Atlantic, which included trials, and I was assigned the werewolf trials, which was really cool. Oh yeah, there you got it there. Yeah, so I got papers for 29 cases that I looked into beyond Peter's stumps, and you're really not. I don't know if you don't know, but you're definitely glossing over what they said he did and what happened to him. Like it's really, really bad. It's so bad. I first thought maybe I should say something when I get on here, and then I started thinking, well, maybe it's actually too bad. Like the things they accused him of were really terrible, and what they did to him was really terrible. And they killed his wife and his kids too.
Yes, I'm familiar. Though eating warm human hearts, right? This type of, I mean, it's just trying to keep it a family show. There's some
his son and ate his brain. Yeah, tore out.
There's some really
pregnant women and ate their hearts.
Yes, really gruesome stuff.
Really bad incest, and the sex with a succubus for 7 years was another one of the things that he was supposed to have done, and they executed him. They executed his daughter and his wife. Adultery too was another thing. He was supposed to have married a woman who was already married. There was like a whole list of things that they accused him of. I'm sure it was just a matter he was admitting to this while being tortured on the will, and then there was 10 places on his body that they were taking hot tongs to and systematically removing skin while getting this testimony. And then later he was burned at the stake. His head was cut off. They made an effigy of wood and hung 16 pieces of wood for it, each supposed to be from one of the victims that he had killed, and then put his head on top of the will that was the base of this effigy that they had made. So, yeah, it was pretty drastic and pretty tragic. And that was, I looked at 30 cases, and there were varying degrees of the amount of like information that you could get on each case, but his is really famous because it just happened to coincide with this period in time where printing little fold-up pamphlets and passing them around in cities and villages was really catching on, and broadsides were really popular, which are like the wood carvings that they can print off of. So they had new printing technology, and they really propagated this guy's testimony and what happened to him, and all of this. And I think, let's see, I think what was the main one was a European one. I'm trying to remember the name of it.
I might have it here. Hold on. I got a whole bunch of stuff here. Let's see. I got too many links. It was
1590. It was an English pamphlet in the 1590s.
1590. No, I don't think I have it. Here.
I think it's called A True Discourse. That's what it was called, A True Discourse. And that was the most famous one in 1590. That was like spread around a lot of places. But there was also the Lucas Meyer broadside in Nuremberg, the Franz Hagenberg broadside in Cologne, and then the Nicholas pamphlet also in 1589 that they passed around. So he was very well publicized, and the other 29 not so much publicized. But the point is that throughout history, apparently this has been an issue and a problem. They had problems with it in ancient times, which historians recorded dutifully. And if it came from ancient times, if it was written down in the Odyssey, the Iliad, or the Epic of Gilgamesh, or Metamorphosis, or in any of these really old history books, you can pretty much bet that this was some type of an oral tradition that had been going on steadily before it was written down. So you can say that you can be sure that the tradition goes back past 3,500 years from this point in time, like stretching back into 5,000 years or more, which is on the border of written history before languages were being invented per se. There was just token exchange. But so the story of werewolves and lycanthropes being the disease that they can spread, I mean, generally it's a curse that you get that then is spread as a disease. And it's been with us since before the written record. And of course, it's still something we talk about on modern day radio stations, and movies are made about. And so, yeah, there's definitely something to it. And I had, back in the early 2000s, I had my genome tested by 23andMe, and I posted the results up there on Discord, and it says, yeah, you have more Neanderthal variants than 99% of the 23andMe customers.
Hey, shout out JJ. We got a brethren here.
That's what I said. Maybe we're like related or something.
Yeah. And to my everlasting shame, I'm also one of them, because my sister, damn you sis, did the 23andMe thing, and she's like, "Oh, hey guys, by the way, we're up there too. It's like 85th percentile in Neanderthal too." So I should have admitted that earlier. But I mean, like I said, I also don't believe that crap. Honestly, not saying I don't believe in the genetic space. I don't believe in the commercial genetic space where it's like pop culture genetics. I don't believe that shit at all. I'm sorry, I just don't. but anyway, apparently now we know why we're brothers from another mother. How?
Yeah. Hey, also in the Malleus Maleficum, you can find information about werewolves from the mid-15th century. They're the only full translation of that book, which is what the book is from the 15th century, the Malleus Maleficum. It means the hammer of witches, and it's the first book that was written on how to hunt down a witch and how to destroy them, and it also had information on werewolves too. And I wrote a paper on that book and stuff, so I have the only full translation by Christopher S. Mackey. But you can get that and read that too, and that's really interesting. Because it's written from the 15th century perspective, right? So the seriousness of it is like kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'm into it. If you can you send me a link, send me a copy. I'd love to love to dig into that. Yeah, it's a wild stuff. Like I said, and a lot of this stuff gets kind of cast into, recognize how we're talking about really deep history here in a lot of ways, like the primordial mind space of what this stuff means. But also, it's also been synthesized into, what's the movie? I think one of the better movies, the werewolf movies, is what's the Werewolf in London. What's that called? I thought
Werewolf in London.
Yes, that was pretty good. I thought it was pretty good. And and the tragic thing is, there's not a ton of really great werewolf movies. There's not, in my opinion. But also, to be fair, I haven't seen a ton of them either. But I'm always disappointed, it feels like. But my point is, in bringing up pop fiction, pop culture at all, is that it feels as if everything that might be worthwhile of a deeper dive is always sort of boiled down to sort of weird notions, like if there's 10 things to talk about, like we've talked about way more than that tonight, but if there's 10 things that are like interesting in the space, like modern culture boils it down to like 3 or 2.5, or you know what I mean? Like, and this is the part that frustrates me a little bit, is that I kind of wish, and I would watch the hell out of this, if there was like a real deep dive into historical context of what we're talking about. Like, I mean, I know we're doing it together sort of collectively, but I mean like actual, not ancient astronaut theorists say yes about every damn thing, but literally think about, we have like a 6-part series about werewolves tonight, just in the information we presented, and there's probably another 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 kind of on top of that. I don't know, man.
There's a lot of information, man. I mean, like, there's no way I can even begin to sum it up. I'm just thinking of the things that I remember off my head, and I threw up my papers really quick and that I wrote, and was looking at them real quick and being like, oh yeah, I remember that. Like, just there's a lot of weird things, man. And especially with like, well, anyway, there's a lot, man. You could definitely go deep into it. And that's just, I mean, mostly I have a lot of ancient and like medieval sort of information, and not as much on modern information, but there's still modern information being generated and stuff too about them. But I sent you the link on the Hammer of Witches, so you can check it out. It's like an Amazon link, and it's like a complete translation. It's the only one. It's been only like a few years old. and you can look up any of those broadsides or pamphlets that I was talking about as well. And there's just, I'm looking at my paper. I had like a paragraph wrote for each of these trials that they went into, and that's just pretty interesting, man. I mean, some of it was as benign as writing werewolves. People were in trouble for writing werewolves, not just turning into werewolves and killing people. But, apparently you're supposed to be riding them either. That's not good. So yeah, there's some trials. There was literally some trials about that people were in trouble for writing werewolves. So, and I was thinking I was trying to, for a while, I was looking at the evidence and trying to ascertain if the werewolves were always anthropomorphic, like standing up like in American Werewolf in London, or they were like down on all fours, you could ride them, because I wasn't sure. But I can also say that I found out that lycanthropy is something that doesn't just, as a disease, affect a weird form of the lupine form. It also can occur in bears and rats and other animals and stuff too, legendarily speaking. So there's a lot of crossover beyond just the werewolf aspect that can potentially be had under this umbrella situation. I mean, and even they talked about that in some of the court cases and stuff too. People would talk about that there were other weird forms that were present in certain instances and things like that.
Yeah, I was hoping you would go all D&D on our ass and bring up the werebears and the wereboars and the wererats, because it isn't just werewolves. It's lycanthropy is a disease. Hey, look.
We need awareness of it.
Exactly.
It's a disease, man.
We need a true proper PSA in 2026. Okay, look, there are diseases out there that have yet to be identified, that need to be cured. And there are many people afflicted by them, but not just people. There are animals, not just the wolf. There are rats. There are bears. There are boars. And as yet unknown group of entities that are suffering from this affliction that is curable by modern science. But how do we cure something that we do not know how to identify? I'll make the edit there. Damn it. It was just so good until I botched it. Anyway, there's your PSA. There's your modern PSA. And look, clearly I'm just kind of halfway joking here, but also, how weird does it get? How weird does it get, man?
I mean, they're all in folklore. I mean, you can find, written traces of all of these things or legal traces. It's not so much that anyone's hiding it. It's just that people don't really know about it, and the people that do know about it, like, I can remember having this discussion with my professor and when I was taking that seminar, and she just looked at me like she didn't have no idea what to say, and she didn't really want to go in that direction. But I was trying to, in a couple of instances, and this was one of them, I was like, can you imagine if this was real, though? I mean, I'm not saying it's real, but they were treating it like it was real, and they fully believed it. And that's what I believe when I read this material. And I think you would agree with that. And she agreed with that. And I'm like, so can you imagine if it was real? If there was a problem, how would it have been handled just the same? It would be indistinguishable, right? You wouldn't know. And she just looked at me like I tried to go there a couple of times, and bring that up, but they just don't. They just assume that it is due to stress. I mean, literally, like the stress of wars and diseases and famine and all the stuff that you have every day in life anyway, somehow is the reason that these things crop up from time to time. And it doesn't, it's not, I mean, those things are constant, right? So the cropping up of these things are intermittent in history. So there's something that they're not completely seeing, and I'm not suggesting I see anything. I can just tell that they have nothing to say about these reoccurrences through different epochs of time, other than, well, it was a stressful time. Okay, well, I was stressed when I was married, man.
Yeah. Have you been to a 60-hour job where you sit in front of a computer answering phones in a cubicle with neon lights above your head? I mean, it's a stressful time now. Where are all the werewolves? Come on, let's see the werewolves out there. And I think Jen had a good point too, recognizing that sort of the animals freaking out and this type of thing is we're not built for this. We're not built for we need to be allowed to be human. We need variety. We need, the spice of life, as they say. Otherwise you literally go insane, and you see it manifest in a lot of ways. And look, like I've always said, you believe what you want to believe. I'm not the arbiter of your belief or your truth or anything. But also, if you get so deep into it that you're ready to kill and die for it, maybe you've gone too far. Just, right? Stop and reflect. What was the quote from Mark Twain, right? Like, once you've sort of adopted the mentality of I'm losing it, but just stop and reflect, because hey, is this really who you are? You've drinking the Kool-Aid so deeply and so much for so long that you're ready to die for it. I don't know. Like that to me seems antithetical to human life, and ready to kill for it. Don't forget that part. Anyway, I digress. It's just incredibly important that we do stop and reflect, given the mind space that we're told we should believe or could believe. It happens the world over all the time. Every tragedy you see is based on some belief system. Not every, but some broken mind that can't really put two and two together anymore. Because, of course, we're dealing with the modern mind space of too much. It's just this is too much. Like, we need to eat. We need to go to the bathroom. We need to procreate. Like boil down the human mind space to some very simple things and experience some journeys and some adventures and there and back again, the Hobbit's holiday. And that's that, right? I mean, suddenly you lock us outside of the space of very simple things from whence we came. And here we are. So I'll stop. I digress. But I hope you guys understand what I mean. And like I said, I'm not trying to tell you what to believe or what not to believe. That's the whole point of me kind of rambling on about it. But what else you got, sir? Go ahead.
No, man, I think you said it all well.
Well, thanks. Once in a while, I'm okay. I do. I do a lot of rambles, but sometimes you can trim. Like I was trying to trim that perfect commercial about lycanthropy and how we should really make it a priority in the 2026. But I'll re-record that and put that up because I think it's super funny. But
he's not just using a lot of deodorant; he's using too much deodorant.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Maybe you should check for lycanthropy.
Hey, you never know. You never know. If your deodorant gets gobbled up in your armpits before noon, maybe, just maybe, you might be a lycanthrope. A were-boar and a were-rat, and also they play. You're the best, brother. So let me ask you before we wrap this. Do you think that maybe, just maybe, this stuff has a chance of being real somewhere? And not just real in antiquity, maybe real today? Or is that a step too far?
Well, real in what sense? I mean, what do you mean real? Like
werewolves, lycanthropy, like this disease that is as described. I don't have to reiterate what it means, but
I got you. Okay, I just want to make sure you meant like actually physically people turning into werewolves, as opposed to like the symbology of it or the seed of the legend of it being still present in the society. But man, I mean, well, I got a friend who believes strongly in things like Bigfoot and Sasquatch, and I guess it would make a lot of sense if people were turning into something like that and then reverting, and you just kind of see these things occasionally out of context. That would be kind of interesting. I don't know, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm open to it. It's possible. I it'd be a metamorphosis, right? Like, so it'd be something that'd probably be painful, might be dangerous. If you're really going to have the biology of your body morphed in that way. It's kind of like the Hulk, right? Like whatever happens triggers it. I assume it may be something like microgravity, right? There's something biologically in the body that is affected as strongly as tides are affected by the moon, and causes this to happen in these occasions or something in that nature. So I could definitely see there being mechanisms for it and possibilities. I don't know if there's anything in nature that metamorphoses that quickly, but there's absolutely things that do metamorphose in striking ways, like butterflies do and things like that. So it's definitely not beyond the biology. So it could be some rare form of super quick metamorphosis in nature that people have to deal with and either realize or don't realize that they have this condition and struggle to keep it from being known, or instinctually revert to hiding and being away from a populace if in that form. So I'd say it's possible. Do I believe it? I don't know. I mean, I could believe it if I seen a few things indicating it, and I already speculated that it would be really weird if all Bigfoot sightings were people who had went out into the woods and reverted to another form and just wandered around for a while. It's kind of interesting. Like, so they're not, it's us, crap. But it's the same thing with like UFOs, right? The fourth dimensional beings coming back from a future time. Oh crap, it's us. I thought you guys were like aliens. Oh, you're us. Okay. Anyway,
it's us.
Yeah, it's possible.
I'll take it's possible. That's actually what I expected from you and kind of what I was looking for. And look, I'll say the same thing. Like, you know me, like no conclusions out of me, but I do keep an open dialogue, and like not just here too, in my mind. Like I'm wondering, think about this too. Let's go psi powers for just a second, and I'll wrap this up. But imagine that there are individuals out there that can recognize that you recognize a thing, whatever that is, and then be able to, through some neural trick, make you believe another thing about themselves or about something else. And it might be, we've talked about the influence of words, the influence of body language, the influence of a great many things. And don't you think that like sociopaths and psychopaths have kind of been practicing this stuff for a long time?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, like that type of stuff, right? Like just the mind space of who we are, who we think we should be, and then how much of that is manipulated by not just society, but individuals in society that that are close to you. I don't know. It's weird, man. Like I'm open to all this because I think there's an incredible amount of stuff that we don't really pack into this because, and look, I know you'll know this and you'll back me up, pretty sure. Scientifically, there's no way to measure something so broad. Like you there's so many disciplines that are scattered to the wind when you talk about the ideas that we talk about. We're like talking about anthropology. We're talking about ancient history. We're talking about like you can stack 20 things. We're talking about science with this weird idea of the super carnivore, and maybe that the actual Neanderthal was the werewolf. I mean, we're literally talking about so many things. The quantifying the idea down scientifically is ridiculous and probably never provable. And that's where the troubled mind comes in. That's what I got.
I have had many discussions with many people who hold PhDs in various fields, sociology, anthropology, history, and sciences of various natures, and have become friends with them. And one thing I've realized is that these people are incredibly cornered into whatever specialty it is that they know and they understand. And they don't typically like to speculate outside of their specialty, so especially in a classroom setting, because I can guarantee you, I've been told by a few professors, hey, look, I don't want to speculate this far out of the class. I've got to teach this class this material, and I don't have time to speculate with you about certain things, man. I'm happy that you're interested in the material, but I got to teach these guys the dogma. So can you hold back on? I've been told that like a lot of times, and there's very, very little cross-disciplinary situations that occur. One whole science can be talking about performative utterances, for instance, and never say anything about the affect theory of emotions. And they're definitely connected. When you fold your arms, when you put your arms together on your chest or whatever, and you fold your arms, whether you tuck your right hand or your left hand in to the little tucky hole is a matter of a chromosome, and that chromosome ratio is a third. So a third of the people are going to do it one way, and then 2/3 of the people are going to do it another way. And once in a class, we were talking about votive figures in the where Thera exploded. The Minoans. We were talking about Crete and the Minoans and Kenosis, and these votive figures that were found there, and they were trying to decide if because they were subtly different. Each of them were like kind of different, right? And they were trying to decide if people came in and posed for these figures or if they were just sort of mass made by somebody and variated. And many of these figures had their arms folded like that. And I'm like, well, why don't you just do a ratio count on how their arms are folded? Because if it hits that ratio, you'll know it was actually people standing there when they did it. So it's like things that seem kind of obvious to compare. These guys definitely don't do that. They have no cross-disciplinary skills, so they might know stuff and not even know how cool it is, the things that they know.
Agreed.
So yes to your question.
Yeah. I agree 100%. And I think that's the thing, right? It's the specialist versus the generalist, and the generalist has a very hard time proving anything. And that's why I think it's important to kind of take the generalist mindset and not try and prove anything at all. Just kind of, point out blind spots and recognize that maybe, just maybe, there are things that we've missed that should be sort of chased down these rabbit holes scientifically. But, I think maybe when we talk about the singularity and moving into the space of, sort of, I don't want to say unlimited, but just a massive amount of intelligence and data analysis, maybe these types of things that we talk about, the generalist aspect of ideas, might be solvable in some ways, right? And so at least it's sort of reconciled in the modern mind space, and that's good enough for me. We don't have to be like, Mike, here's your vampire. Let's put him in the cage in the zoo. But let's wonder about some of the things that we've missed in folklore and mythology and the old tales in the new space, and why we're here talking about it. You're the best, brother. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, guys.
And anything you're working on? Anything we need to know? Or
I'm just doing I'm doing a deeper analysis on an RPG. I wrote a academic paper on the history of an RPG and had it published in Codot, and so I've been like going over some of the unpublished manuscripts and looking at design changes between then and publication and various things, and talking with editors who worked on the project with Gary, and talking with Gary's kids, or at least Luke, because he's the only one still alive at this point, that at least of the two kids. Like Ernie died, but so no, I've just really been doing that, and that's really just for my own amusement. I need to, and the co-author Dave Newton, I need to discuss with him exactly what he did on the castings. Like, he came up with some of the effects of the castings, but I'm trying to figure out where the substrate was and if it connects to the design architecture that's in the appendix of that book. So yeah, kind of a lot of stuff and nothing all at once.
Perfect. And I think once again, Gary Gygax is who brought us together, who rest in peace. The dude was ahead of his time by a long shot. And he brought a lot of this conversation into through the Art Bell space, through the idea of kind of looking at the world differently through mythology and folklore, and synthesizing it into a game. I mean, a game of all wild things, a freaking game. And still, he was so far ahead of that game, the larger game, the societal game, that I think he's going to be one of those. How do I describe it? Like Isaac Newton. Like, I just don't think he gets enough credit for the things he pushed forward that are still resonating with you and me and many others. And he's a deep core of what I talk about, and that's important. And that's why I show up. It's why I show up every day. It's to honor the flames that came before us, and hopefully to inspire whoever comes next. That's it. He's the best, brother. Keep doing the thing you do, and I appreciate you very much. Thanks for hanging out. And we still got to get to that Jackson Judge. Remember, we got to get to that. So you let me know when you're ready. Kind of digging into that a little bit. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to fly out there and do the thing.
I did
but
do some of that, actually. I just didn't know. I need to read that paper, I think, at this point.
Okay, I'll do the thing. I'll scan it all and I'll send it over to you because I think. All right,
cool.
Okay, cool. We'll touch that at some point. It is in Ohio where Eric is at. We'll talk about that unpublished manuscript of mine that is right here, right below me, knee high.
You're to come down for vacation and see it, dude. I'll give you a place to stay for a couple of days, and we can jot down the road and go see the serpent.
Yeah, go to the place. Go to the places, plural. You're the best. Appreciate you, Eric. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for having a amazing time with us. I hope you did, and have a great night.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
You know me, love him. Eric in Ohio, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down, follow Eric. You know what to do. All the things. So help all our friends. That's what this is about. It's about ideas. It's about sharing what we know. And don't forget that this is the core of an open, wild, and weird conversation like this. Is that a single person cannot know all the things about anything. It's just an impossibility. There's not enough time. We're limited time-wise. If you spend your entire life reading, you don't spend any of your life living, right? And so there's a combination there. There's a synthesis. And so if we can't do this together and share both of these things all at the same time, then what the hell are we doing? That becomes the problem. And that becomes why there's troubled minds. James, anything to add? And we'll wrap it up. Appreciate you guys very much. Thanks for hanging out and being cool and chill and nice to each other. Like I said, it means the world to me. Go check out UFO Twitter recently, and you'll see there is just a toxic, just so toxic. It's just so ridiculous. I'm not going to get into it. Just go look, and you'll see what I mean. I made a post in the Discord, but dear God, some of these people are just so insufferable that they cannot talk about ideas. They have to attack each other instead. Can we just not do that? Can we just, wonder about the other things that people are not Jerry Springer style doing? Anyway, James, appreciate you being patient and hanging out and grinding through the not just the amazing stuff you and Ricky are doing, but then hanging out late with us. I appreciate you, brother.
Oh yeah, no, glad to be here. And yeah, it's really, all this to me is always fascinating because, again, there are modern reports that show up every so often online today about people seeing things, like I said near the beginning of the show, that may be werewolves or something similar to werewolves. Even creatures that they don't even have names for. So what is that? And yeah, thank you for having me on as always.
No, glad to have you. Appreciate it very much. I know Sundays is a double duty for you, and we appreciate you very much. Please, salsidoparanormal.com, SALSIDO paranormal.com. Let me kill this thing there. And then right there, there's his link tree. And then we also have his website right there. Please go give him a follow in all the places. Go buy his books. Go follow his podcasts. Go help each other. That's what this is all about. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for staying up late. And look, again, recognizing that I'm no arbiter of anybody's truth. That's it. I'm just not. I can't be. Like, who could be? I have a hard time believing full well that somebody out there is like, oh, yeah, I have all the answers. Like, really? Well, let's hear about all those answers, shall we? And then I'm going to just take a nap or something. I don't like.
Drifting through.
Oops, that's the wrong button. This one? This one. There we go. I should play that other one. But you get the idea. Anybody who claims to have all the answers should be taken with a massive grain of salt. And there's a lot of people out there that do. That swear to the end of ends. They've cracked the code. They know. But do they? Do they really? That's it. Look, I don't know. That's the point. And recognize, please, how liberating it is to talk about ideas without having to make conclusions. I know this was sort of a more conclusion-esque show from me, but I don't do that. I don't do it a lot. but still, throw it out. I'm not going to reiterate and tell you you're a moron if you don't believe the things I said. I'm going to say, I hope you had a good time. I hope it gave you food for thought, not just about werewolves, about mythology and folklore, but it gave you food for thought about who we are, where we came from, and where we're headed. Get it? Shout out Lily in Australia. Thanks for hanging out with us. Have a great night. Great afternoon over there in the land down under. Look, this is the point. If you want to help us help our friends, I can't reiterate this enough. That's the whole point of this, is to talk to people about amazing ideas, regular people about extraordinary ideas. But look what happens when you do this for so many years and make so many incredible friends. It becomes mundane ideas with extraordinary people. You see? You can also invert the inversion. And this is what we've become. If you want to help us directly, spread the word. Let people know conversations happening where we're not going to tell you to vote for. It's not blue team or red team. It's not any team. It's team human. It's all of us. And if you can't see that or recognize what's happening, I don't know what to tell you. I've been talking for 8 years on this. I've been a long time. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep speaking into the digital darkness, and hopefully somewhere along the line, you'll take some value from this. That's it. I know I do, so I hope you do as well. Once again, troubledminds.org/friends. Spread the word. Let people know conversations happening where we're not going to tell you to vote for. And the other thing is, if you want to help us directly, the merch store, troubledfans.com. I'm gonna redo that entire thing. It's a disaster right now, but you can buy hats, shirts, the maybe juice mugs, all this stuff. It's just a disaster. It's way too expensive. It's way too stupid. I'm gonna fix all that coming up because I have Claude in my back pocket and ChatGPT and all the rest. Vibe coding is real. If you gave up on this, I talked about this a year and a half ago. If you gave up on this, revisit, please, and you're going to be shocked at how far it's come. Shout out Herschel Sterling. Like I said follow his link tree. Don't go to HerschelSterling.com. That's his website. Yeah, check it out. Things are happening. All right. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night.